In the cave and the Indians helped him, that was your dad or your grandfather?
My dad.
Your dad, okay.
He's the one that came from England.
Okay, so I thought you said he had a brother that died and a son.
Yeah.
But he had more children that died. Were they girls? Is that why?
Well, the first four, they were all 3 boys and 1 girl.
Okay.
And the girl died, 3 boys died, and 2 boys died and 1 lived.
Okay.
That was my oldest brother, Henry, that told me not to talk to anybody and put me in a hotel.
Who died flying the plane? You said someone died flying the plane?
That was my dad's brother in England.
Okay.
And he was a pilot during World War One.
Okay.
And Dad, for one thing, I think he was flat-footed, and they didn't think he could run. And he had too many children, so Dad didn't have to go to war.
Okay.
But I was born.
And then his other brother died on the planes with him.
Killed it as a pilot.
No, the one that came out and died of pneumonia. The one who died of pneumonia.
Oh, that was Dad's brother that came to Canada, but that was after the war.
Okay.
Or maybe before the war, for all I know.
And he had another brother that died in the plane.
Yeah, it would have been before the war. And he died. But then he had another brother die in England. And then the oldest brother was an alcoholic. And his dad disowned him and gave him enough money to get rid of him. And said, "You're not in my will. And don't ever come back to me until you don't drink anymore." And remember, he was the one that ran away from home because his parents were alcoholics.
Okay.
So when he had a son he wasn't going to put up with it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyhow, back to where was I last? I was in Prince Edward Island. This lady got the apartment.
And you were talking about the doctor. You liked all kinds of ages of people, and the mayor lady came up and hung out with you guys sometimes.
Yeah, these kids always, I entertained them. So anyhow, while I was living in her house, and we were there almost a year, I remember swimming in the ocean all the time, and it was salt water, and we'd dive off the pier.
Was there any fear of submarines then?
It was the same water where the submarines were, but they wouldn't have come that close to town. Mm. But we had some other friends that came from the prairies, but he had never swam. And they lived on a farm, and wherever they lived, they were by a lake. And of course, I was raised from the time I was 9 years old at the lake, and Harry was born at a lake, so we were in the water all the time. And so this particular time, I said to this fellow, "Do you know how to swim?" He said, "No, I don't know anything about swimming." I said, "Well, you're in salt water here. This is an ocean." So I said, "You can't sink in salt water." Well, of course, maybe if you were in the Dead Sea, but it didn't work that way in this ocean. So I told him to jump in, and you won't sink. And he went down, down, down. I pulled him back up.
You had to jump in?
I told him to jump in. He said, "You said that I wouldn't sink." He never went in the water ever again. Yeah. But anyhow, so we lived there for a year. And
see, you can sell anybody.
And after the year we were there, one day, my brother lived in New Brunswick, and it was also part of what we called the, wasn't the Prairie Provinces, that's where I was born. This one was called, anyhow, there was Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and they were all part of, and right now I can't think of the name, but they lumped it up, that they were all part of Canada, but they were like islands, like Vancouver. Those islands around Vancouver.
And that's where your brother was stationed?
And my brother he wasn't stationed, but he worked for, it would be like Boeing Air Force. Okay. Only that day it was a different name. And because he worked for them, he was exempt. Mm. He didn't have to go to war.
The blind one? The one
no,
with the...
my brother wasn't blind.
The one with the eye injury?
The one that married my sister was, but not my brother. He was
Oh,
that handsome one that I held up and you looked at. No, that was my husband. No, my brother, they called him Clark because he looked like Clark Gable.
but your brother-in-law is the one that hurt his eye.
Yeah,
I thought you're. I
married to
thought.
my sister.
Oh, okay. Who's the one that? Who got the BB gun in the eye? That was
my
him?
brother-in-law.
What was
my
his name?
sister's husband. He was a banker, and he didn't have to go to war because he was blind in one eye.
Okay, but your brother had a job working with like an aircraft company or something.
Yeah. Well, it'd be like Boeing.
Okay, was it nearby?
It was in one of these islands in Nova Scotia.
Okay.
It was either Nova Scotia or New Brunswick, but it was right across from Prince Edward Island. But you had to go on a ferry to get to it.
Okay.
And so I met this girl, and she was a secretary, and my brother came to visit us, and he met her. And one time when she was visiting us, and my brother came to visit us with his wife, and he said, I'd like to have you as my secretary. And he said, I'll give you twice the wages that you're making here.
To this lady, this
To
friend
this
of yours?
lady who was living in Prince Edward Island, was
Okay.
born in Prince Edward Island, was a native to Prince Edward Island.
Okay.
And she always lived in Summerside.
It's
And
not Grace, is it? It's not your friend Grace. We're not
No.
talking Grace. Okay.
I can't even remember her name.
Okay.
And she said, no way, there's no way I ever want to go off this island. And so he said, I'll pay for your ferry over, and I'll pay you twice as much as what you make.
To work at that
And
Boeing
you can
company?
come home every weekend.
To work at that Boeing type company?
And he was working for Boeing, but not Boeing.
Yeah,
but
but
it was the
something
same
like it.
as Boeing.
He wanted her to be his personal
His
secretary.
secretary. Yeah.
Was she pretty?
I don't know.
Oh.
He was married, so he didn't hire her for that. He just wanted a good secretary.
Oh, okay.
And but she wouldn't go off the island.
Weird.
No way. Even if she could come home every weekend,
Huh.
she wouldn't go off the island. She stayed with very low wages while he was going to give her big ones. But when you lived in Prince Edward Island, those people never wanted to leave the island. They were quite happy just to stay there.
Huh.
And I think when they put in that great big...
When they like Prince Edward Island. Okay.
Yeah, Prince Edward Island. And it was only the ferry, and the ferry was just that little train. Now, I don't know, later on, after the war, they did build a ferry.
Okay.
But anyhow,
Interesting.
what was I going to
Was
say?
it a high income, high dollar community? Was it a rich area?
No, I can't say so. It was a very, very clean island. And you know who wrote a book in Prince Edward Island? About Prince Edward Island? Anna Green Gables.
Oh.
That came from Prince Edward.
Oh.
Anna Green Gables. And the church I went to, the man's name was Collins or something like that. And he went to school with Lucy Maud Montgomery, I think was her name,
The author.
the author.
And who was that you just said went to school with her?
This fellow that I knew that went to the Baptist church. He was an older
The friend.
man.
Oh, okay.
He was an older man. And he took me, he would have taken Harry, but Harry had to work. So he took me one day in his car and to go to Anna Green Gables. And he lived there. He went to school there. He sat behind Anna Green Gables.
Oh, that's a place?
Oh yeah, it's a place.
Oh, I thought it was the name of a person named Anna. I thought you were saying Anna
Have
Green
you never read the book Anna Green Gables?
I just saw the movie and I
I didn't know
remember.
any young girl that didn't.
Really? Is
It
that
was really-
great?
Every once in a while they put it on TV, even recently.
I think I've seen clips of it, but never really focused on what it was. I should watch it, huh?
And you know, all our soil was black, so it was volcanic sand.
Okay.
But Anna Green Gables was the only place on the island that was white sand. And this old couple lived at Anna Green Gables.
Are you saying Ada? A-D-D-A?
Anna, A-N-N-A, Anna Green Gables,
Okay.
it was called.
Okay.
and it could have been his wife's name, but there was just an old couple that lived there, and they didn't have any children. And they wanted to adopt a boy as he got older to help him on the farm. And when they got the adopted child, it was a girl, and her name was Anna Green Gables, I guess. But anyhow, her name was Lucy Maud Montgomery. But anyhow, they called the place Anna Green Gables. And she was the mother was so disappointed that they didn't get a boy that she didn't like her at first, but he did. And she was a very outgoing, rambunctious girl that had red hair. And this man that took me to Anna Green Gables to see, it's a tourist trap. And in those days, they just had a little marker, a wooden marker, when she died on the cemetery. Now they've got a great big one, and they write books about it and everything. I thought everybody knew about Anna Green Gables. But anyhow, he said I used to sit behind her and pull her pigtails, and we used to walk on Lover's Lane, and so he took me to where Lover's Lane was. And
so she was a real person.
Oh yeah, and he was a real person. So I had a tour from a fellow who lived there.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was really very interesting. They had white sand, and
So you must have felt very special that you were able to talk to a person who was
when you know somebody personally. And he wrote poetry. He was real good at writing poetry.
Okay, so my thought is, I was thinking that when you briefly described Anna's life, her story about her mother didn't like her.
The what?
That when you told me just now quickly about the story of Anna Green Gables, that it's similar to your story.
Yeah, in a way, the adopted mother didn't care for her that much.
And the father did.
And I was sort of like her type.
Yes.
I said what I thought.
Yes. Isn't it ironic that you traveled so far to land into a famous area of a story that related to you? I wonder if that's another miracle you didn't even realize.
Right. And they wrote a book about her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if the fellow that wrote all the poetry that knew her wrote that book or not. But anyhow, it's one that most everybody I know knows. Of course, that's Canada. You're America, so there are some American people that know, but in Canada, most everybody had read the book of Anna Green Gables.
Mm.
It's really an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe we could stop here. This is a good place to stop. Yeah. That's wonderful. I feel like did you see the movie The Titanic? Remember